Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Interpreting India. Today, we are celebrating a milestone that wouldn't have been possible without all of you. It's the 5th anniversary of this podcast.
So, looking back, it's been an incredible run, and we really appreciate our listeners who've kept coming back to the podcast again and again. Over the last 5 years, we've brought you more than 100 episodes. Each one has taken a deep dive into issues that shape India and the world. And today, we are taking a moment to reflect on some of our favorite moments and the impact that these conversations have had.
One of my favorite episodes that I was the host for was one with Dr. Arvind Subramanian, which I did in early 2022. It was a very wide-ranging episode about the economy, and we discussed many things. We discussed political economy, we discussed GDP measurement, we discussed the trends in economic growth, and so on. It was a very rich and insightful discussion, I thought. That is, I think, one of my favorite episodes.
My favorite episodes, which really stood out to me, was the one where we had Carl Mehta as the guest. This was the one on India's tech-driven future. Carl is, of course, an expert who is working on various fields such as defense innovation, AI, DPI, and space as well. And his advice on how do we sort of incubate these technologies with the use of patient capital was one of the highlights of the episode for me as well.
So what that stood out for me is my conversation with Shireen Rai on gender parity in the Indian Parliament. It was a rich and insightful conversation on whether increased female participation in the Indian Parliament actually translates into change. It's a must listen for anyone interested in gender studies, Indian politics, and the dynamics of parliamentary governance.
One thing that has stood out for me through all these episodes, apart from the quality of the conversations, of course, is the fact that so many of the discussions have an enduring quality beyond the immediate subjects being discussed. The episodes on Delhi's draft master plan with Rumi Ayaz, the episodes on urban governance with Vidyadhar Pathak and Matthew Glasser, were really a deep dive into long-standing issues plaguing Indian cities. Each of these guests, like so many others in their respective areas, provided a masterclass on the subjects being discussed that have a long-standing appeal beyond the immediate topics of discussion.
One of the episodes which I also really liked was the one hosted by me, and where we had Stephen Ezell as a guest. Stephen Ezell is, of course, one of the people who was the author of the ISET Semiconductor Readiness Assessment Report. The episode was very key for me to understand what more can India do when it wants to go about building up a sustainable semiconductor ecosystem. Of course, Stephen is someone who has been in this field for about a few decades, and so his insights are very much appreciated in terms of what more India would need to do if it is to sort of stay on track to build its Indian semiconductor mission.
And on the domestic front, episodes like the one with Radhika Mandi on inflation, or the discussion on India's space sector with Narayan Razan Nagendra, have helped decode complex economic as well as technical challenges for our listeners.
One advantage we've had in interpreting India is the diversity of interests of its hosts, through which we have, in my opinion, provided a diverse set of discussions with guests who have expertise across different issues that affect India's growth. Over the course of these 100+ episodes, certain themes have emerged as particularly interesting and important to our audiences. Technology, defense, geopolitics, economic policy, and urban governance are just a few areas where we've consistently seen high engagement.
What I want to do is something that I've been trying to do for the last two seasons as well, is to have longer, more in-depth conversations about the issues that we discuss with our guests. And I think our audience likes us to go into more detail, analyze different aspects of the issue, consider different possibilities and scenarios. And if you go beyond an hour, maybe even 90 minutes, 120 minutes, we can have that kind of a depth in the conversation. So in the next year or so, you can expect that from me, the episodes that I host.
As we celebrate this milestone, we're also looking to the future. We have covered a lot of ground in these last 5 years, but there's still so much more to explore.
In the coming year, we will bring to you more in-depth discussions, new voices, and cutting-edge topics. From the latest developments in technology to the evolving landscape in geopolitics, we will continue conversations that matter.
Thank you for being a part of this journey of interpreting India. Your support has kept us going for these 5 years, and I can't wait to see what the next chapter holds.
Thank you for listening, and see you next time. Happy 5th anniversary!